You know, deep down, at the very heart of the American military, there's this sacred, unspoken pledge. It's a promise made to every single person who goes into harm's way. No matter what, no matter where, we will come and get you. It's the absolute bedrock of morale. And today, we're going to dive into the incredible world that's been built just to keep that one promise.
And really nothing captures that promise better than this powerful code. It was written way back in 1946, and it all builds to that final incredible line, that others may live. This isn't just a job description, right? It's a creed.
All right, so this commitment, it isn't just some informal understanding. It has an official name, Personnel Recovery, or PR for short. So let's take a look at what the doctrine actually says about this monumental task.
Okay, so according to the official definition, it's the sum of all efforts. We're talking military, diplomatic, and even civil efforts all working together to bring someone home. It's this huge, interconnected system. And here's a key thing. While every service is involved, the U.S. Air Force is the only one specifically tasked to do this on a global scale.
So, you might think personnel recovery is just about the heroic act of saving one person, but it's so much bigger than that. It's what's called a strategic force multiplier. Think about it. Knowing you won't be left behind, that builds incredible morale. Getting a trained pilot back, that preserves a critical resource. And denying the enemy a prisoner for propaganda, that is a massive strategic win.
And who's at the very tip of the spear for these missions? Well, you're looking at some of the most highly trained individuals in the entire military. The Air Force Pararescuemen, or PJs. These guys are basically the Pentagon's ultimate insurance policy. The living proof of that promise to go anywhere, under any conditions.
Okay, so let's see how this all plays out in the real world. We're going to look at one of the most complex rescue operations in recent history, a true race against the clock, against the terrain, and against a very determined enemy. So paint this picture in your head. The year is 2026. An American F-15E gets shot down over Iran. The clock starts ticking. Instantly. Now the pilot, he gets picked up pretty fast, but his weapons systems officer, the WSO, he's now alone, on the run, in hostile mountains with just a pistol, and for over a day, a massive rescue operation is spinning up to get him.
And in that split second, the downed WSO becomes what the military calls an isolated person, or IP. That person is now the central element of the entire PR effort. Their survival and their recovery become the single, solitary focus of a gigantic military machine.
And when I say massive, I mean it. To get this one officer out, the U.S. launched an operation with hundreds of Special Forces commandos and dozens of aircraft. We're talking warplanes, drones, spy planes, the whole shebang. Just an incredible show of force for one person.
But here's the thing. This wasn't just about brute force. It was smart. It was a sophisticated two-pronged attack. On one hand, you had American warplanes pounding Iranian convoys to keep them away, and on the other, you had the CIA reportedly playing mind games, spreading misinformation to try and convince the Iranians the search was over. Absolutely brilliant.
And it all came down to this. The extraction team went deep into enemy territory, got into an actual firefight, and still, they managed to get their guy and get out clean. No American casualties. I mean, that is just a stunning success against unbelievable odds.
And the guys leading the charge on this, the PJs, they are literally forged for this exact kind of mission. They go through a brutal 2-year training pipeline. We're talking combat diving, mountain climbing, free-fall parachuting, and on top of all that, every single PJ is also a certified paramedic, ready to save a life in the middle of a gunfight. So that Iran mission was a textbook success. But, and this is a big but, history shows us that keeping this promise, this unbreakable promise, can come at a cost that is just staggering, almost unimaginable. Which brings us to a really tough question. A brutal one, actually. One that commanders have had to grapple with for decades. What is the true cost of leaving no one behind? And one rescue, one single incident, brought that question into sharp, painful focus. It all started with one man, Lieutenant Colonel Iceel Gene Hamilton. His call sign was Bat 21 Bravo. Now, he wasn't just any airman. He had top-secret knowledge about missile countermeasures. And in 1972, he was shot down deep behind enemy lines during the largest North Vietnamese offensive of the entire Vietnam War. The human cost to save him was just catastrophic. 11 other American airmen lost their lives in the attempts to rescue him. 11 families got the worst news imaginable,
all in the service of getting one man back.
And the material cost was just as bad. 5 more aircraft were shot down. The mission to save one man had spiraled into this much greater tragedy, and it forced a complete reevaluation of how these rescues were even done.
General John Vogt, the commander who finally authorized the successful ground rescue, he laid out the brutal calculus. He knew the cost, but he also knew that if that certain belief that you'll be rescued is ever in doubt, morale would just tumble. And that was a risk he was not willing to take.
Yeah, the horrific cost of Bat-21 forced a total revolution in combat search and rescue. It kicked off this process of constant adaptation that's still going on today, especially because the battlefield itself is changing so radically.
Just look at the contrast here. Back in Vietnam, a rescue helicopter was worried about small arms fire. Today, against a major power like China or Russia, you're facing advanced, long-range missiles that can reach out and touch you from hundreds of miles away. You can't just assume you own the sky anymore. And with stealth fighters flying so deep into enemy territory, a pilot can go down farther than ever before. The challenge is just exponentially harder.
So how do you meet that challenge? Well, you have to rethink everything. People are looking at smaller, faster, stealthier aircraft. They're looking at using drones for support, to drop supplies or keep an eye on things without risking more lives. But you know, it's interesting. It also comes back to the human element. It's not just about the plane. It's about the pilot, their resilience, and the rescuers going in to get them.
All of this new technology is pointing toward a new kind of battlefield, right? One that's increasingly dominated by robots and AI. And that leads to this final, pretty profound question to think about. As warfare evolves and becomes more autonomous, what happens to that promise? Does that creed, that others may live, still hold the same power when the person in danger might be one of the only humans left on a robotic battlefield?